Scotland's First War of Independence began in 1296 with its invasion by the English King Edward I. Initially, the English advance was successful, but an uprising led by William Wallace and Andrew de Moray soon began, leading to the battles of Stirling Bridge and Falkirk with mixed results. The end of the conflict was not clear until the nobleman John Comyn negotiated the submission of Scotland. However, Robert the Bruce, another of the nobles, was crowned King of Scotland in 1306, starting a new campaign to recover the country from the English. This made the English king, Edward, lead his forces against the Scots, managing to defeat them. Robert Bruce had to go into hiding while he gathered new support. Meanwhile, the English king died and his son, Edward II, succeeded him. Of weak character, his government had to face the rebellion of several of his barons. Bruce took advantage of the circumstances to reconquer part of the country. Edward II launched several invasions in the following years, intending to defeat Bruce once and for all, but it was not until 1314 that the decisive confrontation took place. On June 22, the English army concentrated in the vicinity of Falkirk. It had 2,000 cavalry and 14,000 infantry, many of them archers. Shortly after they headed towards Stirling Castle, which was under siege by the Scots and which was the key to the north of Scotland. However, the Scottish army was situated on its route to the castle, in a marshy area near Bannock Stream. His forces were outnumbered, some 7,000 infantry and 500 cavalry. Despite its small size, it was a well-trained and motivated army. The Scottish vanguard, commanded by Thomas Randolph, Earl of Moray, was stationed near St. Ninian's Church. Robert Keith commanded the cavalry force. King Robert the Bruce led the rear guard and his brother Edward the reserve, and they were hidden in the woods where the main road from Falkirk to Stirling led. On June 23 they sighted the advancing English army. 2 cavalry detachments were ahead. One of them, commanded by the Earls of Gloucester and of Hereford, crossed Bannockburn. Hereford's nephew, Henry de Bohun, spotted King Bruce at the head of the infantry, stationed in the wooded ground on the far bank. Seeking glory, he attacked him in a unique duel that the Scotsmen accepted. Bruce, dodging his attacks, managed to defeat him. After this, the Scottish pikemen positioned themselves in a close formation or schiltron against which the English cavalry charged without waiting for support from their infantry. The result was that a large number of horsemen perished. In addition, Edward Bruce's division came out of the woods in support of the Scottish rearguard and charging put the English cavalry to flight. The rest of the English army headed east. The other detachment of English cavalry that was ahead, under the command of Robert Clifford and Henry de Beaumont, crossed the stream trying to breach the Scottish left flank. However, Thomas de Moray's division was posted near St. Ninian's to prevent this possible move, and they rushed to engage Clifford as he crossed Bannockburn. The English let them come closer and thus move away from the protection of the forest. Seeing that they were in danger of being surrounded, Moray ordered the schiltron formation to be adopted. The English cavalry charged against them. However, he was not able to break the Scottish formation and had to withdraw with heavy losses. Bruce, cautious by nature, decided to return to the hills, where the English would not follow him, and avoid a pitched battle. The English, needing to rest and replenish their strength, recrossed the stream at night and set up camp on the marshy plain to the east. Meanwhile, a Scottish knight fighting for England informed Bruce of the disorganization among the English and how demoralized they were. The Scots decided to attack at dawn on June 24. Edward Bruce's division led the attack. To his right, slightly further back, the King's division. Earl Moray's division formed on the left. King Edward saw the Scottish infantry emerge from the woods. The English were still weary from the long march and from being unable to rest overnight in a swampy area, but they had to move and fight. Gloucester rallied the leading English cavalry and charged Edward Bruce's Chiltern, who was in the lead. The charge was a disaster, and Gloucester himself was killed. A group of English archers had advanced and began firing on the Scots, causing heavy casualties. Robert the Bruce ordered Keith, who was in reserve with the cavalry, to attack them. The charge was very effective and he managed to disperse the archers. At this time the battle became general. All the Scottish Chilterns went into action against the disorganized mass of English infantry and cavalry. Scottish archers began shooting at their enemies. Slowly the English began to give ground. Finally, they broke ranks and began to flee as the Chilterns advanced without stopping. Seeing the English commanders that all was lost, they realized that they had to get King Edward out of the battle and keep him safe. The king, along with his personal guard, escaped and was taken to Stirling Castle. However, the English commander of the castle, Sir Philip de Mowbray, prevented them from entering as their surrender was immediate and that would have led to the king being imprisoned. From there they headed towards the port of Dunbar, pursued by the Scotsman James Douglas and a troop of horsemen. The king's flight meant the rupture of the English army. A part continued towards Stirling, others fled towards the River Forth and drowned, and many others headed south, crossing the Bannock stream again, being pursued. Only a third of the English army managed to return to their country. The English did not know how to raise the battle that interested them, and they themselves got into a trap due to an overconfidence of their nobles and their cavalry. Stirling Castle soon surrendered to King Robert, raising its fortifications so that it would not fall into English hands again. The English king, after arriving at Dunbar, embarked on a ship with which he safely reached England. The English defeat allowed Robert the Bruce to consolidate his reign, and the Scots could plunder the north of England and invade Ireland. Finally, in 1328, England recognized the independence of Scotland and Robert the Bruce as its rightful king. This independence would last for centuries.